right. All right, all right, all right. So, chapter 16. Many people will scoff at the idea that there's an exact science to getting rich. I really want you to allow that to be a truth. There is an there's an exact science to getting rich. There's an exact science to launching a rock across a pond. There's an exact science to bending metal. There's an exact science to welding. There's an exact science to, if you do this, that will be the result. Why do you think since 1910 they haven't taught this in school? I mean, we can all have a huge debate on that, right? But what if this exact science, what if people were taught how to be wealthy instead of taught poverty? I really want you to grasp the idea that there is an exact science. So here's my question. If there was an exact science to make $1 million, an exact science that's already proven, not you going to make the light bulb, would you rather have to make the light bulb, or would you like to use an exact science, an exact formula to create $1 million, which you could create billions of dollars if you made the light bulb? But you could, in the next 12 months, have the exact science work for you and create multiple millions of dollars, on and on and on and on. Because there's a part of us that says, yeah, but that works for other people. No, it works exactly for anyone who does it. Now, water in Denver, Colorado boils differently than it does in Miami. That's elevation. Why? Because that's an exact science. They know if you're at a higher elevation, things take a little longer to cook, or they cook faster. I forget which it is. How many of you know when you travel to high elevations, you should hydrate? That's an exact science. So I'm going to encourage you, please don't scoff at the exact science. Holding the impression of the supply of wealth is limited. Holding the impression that the supply of wealth is limited, they will insist that social and government institutions must be changed before a considerable number of people can acquire wealth. Not true. But that is not true. It is true that existing governments keep the masses in poverty, but this is because the masses do not think or act in a certain way. If the masses began to move forward according to my suggestions, the author's suggestions, neither governments nor industrial systems could check them. All systems would have to be modified to accommodate this forward movement. If the people had the advancing mind and had the faith that they can become rich, nothing could possibly keep them in poverty. Individuals may enter upon the certain way, may enter. Now, so why do you think they say enter upon the certain way? What do you think that means? Individuals may enter upon the certain way. How many of you saw Finding Nemo? The WAC, the Western Australian Current? He just got in it and he entered into the current, entered upon a certain way. Doesn't this mean that you can ride the certain way? Doesn't this sound like there's a certain way that exists somewhere as close as your skin? And as soon as you step into that certain way, you enter upon it. You get on a horse, right? You get on a horse, you get on a plane, something that's going to travel, something that's going to take you places. The words they use are quite peculiar and quite particular. Individuals may enter upon the certain way and at any time and under any government, at any time and under any government, and make themselves rich. And when a considerable number of individuals do so under any government, they will cause the system to be modified as to open the way for others. The more men and women who get rich on the competitive plane, the worse for others. You know, no one will probably see this. Wink, wink. Do you think the competitive plane and network marketing is more competitive or cooperative? The way sometimes people talk about other companies, other comp plans, other leaders. It's not as cooperative as I'd like it to be. But do you think that it's worse for others? Why do you think very few people ever make an income? I don't know, just thinking. The more men or women who get rich on the competitive plane, the worse for others. The more who get rich on the creative plane, the better for others. The economic salvation of the masses can only be accomplished by encouraging a large number of people to become rich by practicing the scientific methods set down in this book. These people will show others the way and inspire them with desire for real life, with the faith that it can be attained, and with the purpose to attain it. For the present, however, it is enough to know that neither the government under which you live, nor the capitalistic or the competitive system of industry can keep you from getting rich. Neither the government, the system, or the competitive system of industry can keep you from getting rich. When you enter, it says it again, when you enter, when you, Joseph Campbell, enter the door, answer your call, take that first leap. When you enter upon the creative plane of thought, you will rise above all the things and become a citizen of another kingdom. Archetypes. But remember that your thought must stay on the creative plane. You are never to regard the supply as limited or act in a competitive manner. Whenever you do fall into the old ways of thought, correct yourself instantly, because you are in the competitive mind and you have lost the cooperation of the supreme power. Do not spend any time planning how you will meet possible emergencies in the future. That one flies right in the face of so many financial planners. And do not spend any time in planning how you will meet the possible emergencies in the future. You should be concerned with doing today's work in a perfectly successful manner, not with emergencies which may arise tomorrow. You can attend to them as they come. Do not concern yourself with questions of how will you surmount obstacles which may loom upon your business horizon. Ignore these questions unless you can plainly see that your course must be altered today in order to avoid these obstacles. No matter how tremendous an obstacle may appear at a distance, how big an obstacle may appear at a distance, you will find that if you continue in a certain way, it will disappear as you approach it. How many times have you had that happen? Worry, and then all of a sudden it never comes. You will find that if you continue in a certain way, it will disappear as you approach it, or that a way over, through, or around will appear.
Yes, they will. Climb if you must, dig if you can. On a way over, through, or around, and appear it will.
That's only coffee. It was going to be a drink, but it wasn't. No possible combination of circumstances can defeat a man or woman who is proceeding to get rich along the scientific lines. Underline that, circle it, write it out, get a tattoo. No possible combination of circumstances can deliver can defeat a man or woman who is proceeding to get rich along the scientific lines. No man or woman who obeys the law can fail to get rich. And more than one can, any more than one can multiply two by two and fail to get what? What? No man or woman who obeys the law can fail to get rich. Any more than one can multiply two by two and fail to get four. Give no anxious thought to possible disasters, obstacles, panics, or unfavorable combinations of circumstances. There is time enough to meet these things when they present themselves before you in the immediate present. You will find that every difficulty arrives with it the wherewithal for its overcoming. Guard your speech. Never speak of yourself, your affairs, or anything else in a discouraged or discouraging way. Guard your speech. Never speak of yourself, your affairs, or anything else in a discouraged or discouraging way. Never admit the possibility of failure or speak in a way that implies failure is possible. Do you realize Emerson was right? The most difficult thing you'll do is the idea of sustained thought. Now imagine holding on to the sustained thought that when everything around you, Napoleon Bonaparte said, the definition of leadership is those who can keep their head when everyone else around them is losing theirs. What would it take to never speak of times being hard or business conditions being doubtful? Times may be hard and business doubtful for those who are on the competitive plane, but they can never be so for you. You can create what you want, and you are above fear. Never speak of times as being hard or of business conditions being doubtful. Times may be hard and business doubtful for those who are on the competitive plane, but they can never be so for you if you're on the cooperative plane. You can create what you want, and you are above fear. When others are having hard times or poor business, you will find your greatest opportunities. Train yourself to think of and to look upon the world as something which is becoming, which is growing, and to regard seeming evil as being only that which is undeveloped. Always speak in terms of advancement. To do otherwise is to deny your faith, and to deny your faith is to lose it. Always speak in terms of advancement. To do otherwise is to deny your faith, and to deny your faith is to lose it. Never allow yourself to feel disappointed. Should have wrote that in the first chapter. Never allow yourself to feel disappointed. You may expect to have a certain thing at a certain time and not get it at that time. This will seem to be a failure, but if you hold your faith and you will find that this failure is only apparent. Go on in a certain way. If you do not receive that thing, you will receive something so much better that you will see that the seeming failure was a prelude to a great success. A student of the science of getting rich had set his mind on making a certain business combination, which at the time seemed to him to be very desirable. He worked for some weeks to bring it about. When the crucial time came, the thing failed in perfectly inexplicable way. In a perfectly inexplicable way, it failed. It was as if some unseen influence had been working secretly against him. He was not disappointed. On the contrary, he thanked God that his desire had been overruled and went steadily on with a grateful mind. In a few weeks, an opportunity so much better came his way that now he would have. Hang on. He was not disappointed. On the contrary, he thanked God about that his desire had been overruled, and he went steadily on with a grateful mind. In a few weeks, an opportunity so much better came his way that now he would not have made the first deal on any account. He saw that a mind which knew more, a mind which knew more, a thinking stuff which knew more than he knew, he had prevented him from losing the greater good by entangling himself with the lesser. This is the way every seeming failure will work for you. If you keep your faith, hold your purpose, have gratitude, and each day do all that can be done that day. When you make a failure, it's because you have not asked enough. When you make a failure, it is because you have not asked enough. Keep on, and the larger thing you are seeking will certainly come to you. Remember this: you will not fail because you lack the necessary talent to do what you wish to do. If you go on as I have directed, you will develop all the talent that is necessary for doing your work. It is not within the scope of this book to deal with the science of cultivating talent, but it is as certain and simple as the process of getting rich. However, do not hesitate or waver for fear that when you come to the place where you will fail for lack of ability. Keep right on, and when you come to that place, the ability will be furnished to you. The same source of ability which enabled the untaught Lincoln to do the greatest work in the government ever accomplished by a single man is open to you. You may draw upon the thinking mind to use in meeting the responsibilities which are laid upon you. Proceed in full faith. Why do you think they added the word full faith? Proceed with faith. No, proceed in full faith. Study this book. Make it your constant companion until you have mastered all the ideas contained in it. While you are getting firmly established in this faith, you will do well to give up most recreations and pleasures and to stay away from places where conflicting ideas are advancing in lectures or sermons. Do not read pessimistic or conflicting literature. Spend most of your leisure time in contemplating your vision, in cultivating gratitude, and in reading this book. If it contains all you need to know the science of getting rich, and you will find that all the essentials summed up in the following chapter. So, a summary of the science of getting rich. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates and penetrates and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon the formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. In order to do this, a person must move from the competitive to the creative mind. Otherwise, he cannot be in harmony with the formless intelligence, which is always creative and never competitive in spirit. A person can come into full harmony with the formless substance by entering a lively and sincere sense of gratitude for the blessings it bestows upon him. Gratitude unifies a person's mind with the thinking mind so that the individual's thoughts are received by the formless substance. A person can remain on the creative plane only by uniting himself with the formless intelligence through a deep and continuous feeling of gratitude. An individual must form a clear and definite mental image of the things he wishes to have, a clear and definite mental image of the things he wishes to have, do, or become. And he must hold this mental image of his thoughts while being deeply grateful to the supreme power for granting him all that he desires. The person who wishes to get rich must spend his leisure hours in contemplating his vision and in earnest thanksgiving that this reality is being given to him. Too much stress cannot be laid upon the importance of the frequent contemplation of this mental image, coupled with the unwavering faith and the devout gratitude. This is the process by which an impression is given to the formless substance and the creative forces set in motion. Too much stress cannot be laid on the importance of frequent contemplation of the mental image. This is the process by which the impression is given to the formless substance and the creative forces are set in motion. The creative energy works through the established channels of natural growth and through present industrial and social order. All that is included in his mental image will surely be brought to the person who follows my instructions, the author's instructions, and whose faith does not waver. What he wants will come to him through the ways of established trade and commerce. A person must be active. A person must be active in order to receive his own when it is ready to come to him. He must more than fill his present place. He must keep in mind the purpose is to get rich through the realization of your mental image. He must do every day all that can be done, taking care to do each act in a successful manner. He must give to every man a use value in excess of the cash value he receives, so that each transaction makes for more life. And he must hold the advancing thought so that the impression of increase will be communicated with all whom he comes in contact. The men and women who practice the foregoing instructions will certainly get rich, and the riches they receive will be in exact proportion to the definiteness of their vision, the fixity of their purpose, and the steadiness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. And the riches they receive will be in exact proportion to the definiteness of their vision, the fixity of their purpose, the steadiness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. It's a heck of a formula. So that concludes the science of getting rich. Questions, comments, thoughts, ahas. What'd you learn? What jumped out at you today?
One thing that jumped out at me was the entering into it. How does it say that?
Entering upon a certain way.
Entering upon a certain way that you pointed out that it's like a ride. It's like a wave. It's like a flow that you can get into.
And so now with that awareness, what changes? Because now it's neuroplasticity. Now neuroplasticity has to be activated. New neural networks need to be created because certain way was I got to do something in a certain way. But entering upon a certain way changes the doing to the becoming. What changes in the neuroplasticity now that that awareness came and it's like, wow, that's I never thought of it that way. What shifts? What
It
changes?
it's uh, discovering the access point.
Okay. So when you're working with somebody's disease or um, I don't want to say broken body, uh, when you want to help them with a particular something, isn't it true that we may call it the starting point? Somebody needs to lose weight. There's a starting point. Somebody has some chronic conditions, chronic fatigue, chronic this, chronic that. Do is it not true that you enter into their body a certain way? You enter upon it to begin the action of the healing? I don't know. I'm just this is what's being downloaded in my head. I want to see if you already know how this you were already doing it is what I heard. So this is where I'm asking the question.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean that makes sense. There's definitely a starting point, and there is a place that you know that you start.
But is it
And
don't you enter upon so give me something make it up, I don't care what it is. But give me something that somebody would come to you and you automatically say, I know how to repair that. I know how to fix that. I know what to do.
oh, yeah. You want something in
Yeah.
particular?
Yeah, just in particular. Yeah, just anything random.
Type 2 diabetes.
Okay. So type 2 diabetes. You don't give them a formula. Don't you ask them to enter upon a certain way? Now, they don't follow the protocol. They don't enter upon the certain way. They don't enter upon the ride and take that ride that's designed and customized specifically for them. They're not going to have the results, right?
Correct.
So what would shift rather than you telling them minimize carbs or less protein or to open up the capillaries or whatever it is? Isn't it a mind shift as well as nutritionals and nootropics and all that?
100%.
So what would you now call that? What would you call the concept of entering upon a certain way for any one of your clients? It doesn't matter if it's working out, type 2 diabetes, restless leg syndrome, all of these names and conditions. What's the essence of entering upon a certain way that you take everybody on the journey and some decide to get off at the top of the roller coaster before the fun starts?
The word that keeps coming to me is belief. It has to
Mhm.
start with belief.
So what's part of your new potential protocol to enter upon a certain way of belief? Is it having them write out their 90-day goal?
Oh, definitely.
Is it reading their having them journal daily?
Definitely.
I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas, not to complicate it, but there is a certain way that people get healed. I think the strategy is whether it's genius protocol, whether it's working out, whether it's the sprays, those are strategies. What makes them do it more than 21 days, more than 60 days, more than 90 days? What gets them at the end of 90 days ready to say, I need another one for level 2 of the certain way?
It's the recognition of results and the desire for things to get better, because when things get better, they continue to get better.
And how many times have they gotten wildly better and said they told you it didn't work?
It hasn't.
Right? Because all too often they're not ready. Either they're not ready for the results, or the results happen so incrementally they don't even see it.
Right.
So possibly for you, entering upon a certain way is for them to also realize their list of evidences. I know this, and that's why I've gotten much better at simply asking questions, because if I don't ask the questions, I can take people from zero to hero, and then they go, well, I did that. Okay. And I want them to do it more and more easily, more effortlessly. And so my entering upon a certain way is taking them on a way that they've never thought they could do, that when they arrive at the solution of the thing they never thought they could do, it seems so effortless. They're kind of they haven't grasped the new neurological neuroencoding, so they kind of need me for round 2. They say, okay, I'm stuck. Okay, well, would you like to move forward and fix that? So just it's something to think about and become aware of, entering upon a certain way versus I've got 32 things that normally type 2 diabetes people do. And, you know, if their AC1 is this, they do this. If it's that, it's do this, right? Those are all strategies, and they're all what my daddy would say, things you can't experience, you can't buy, but you paid for. And that's what makes us, as we become more mature, if we're having new experiences and new growth and new triumphs all the time, that our failures make us wildly valuable.
That makes a lot of sense.
And my daddy said, if it makes sense,
It'll
it'll
make
make
dollars.
dollars. Used to drive
Th-
me nuts.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome, welcome, welcome. Who else thoughts, comments? Hey, Jim.